listen, I know my wife is great and amazing, and she's not living to that potential. So it's like you're living less than where you should be. You're just this magnificent person, and all of a sudden, like, you don't see that in yourself. How can I see how amazing, how valuable you are?
You know, the first thing you do is show her appreciation.
This is Vivian Velasquez.
And this is Raul Velasquez.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Raul Velasquez, and I'm here with a beautiful co-host,
Vivian Velasquez.
All right, we started early today because I'm posting right now and welcome everybody who's watching us through Facebook Live. And if you're watching us through YouTube, make sure you go back to our old episodes and check out the last episodes from the previous weeks.
Yes, we're on time. It's insane how like our time is so different.
Well, I'm always on time.
Yes.
I'm never early. I'm never late. I'm always on time. So if you're watching us for the first time, this is Raul and Vivian. We do a podcast every single week, or at least we try to do a podcast every single week.
Yes.
Sometimes we make it happen. Sometimes shit happens, and we have things that come in our way. But this week is good because we're here. We're here. And 1 week, like I was looking at my Facebook feed, and one of the things that I love about Facebook is that it tells us the story of who we were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And I was looking at my feed this morning, and 2 years ago we were in Necker Island. And with Richard Branson.
It's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful journal. Like it actually keeps it for you. Like if you keep your memories stored in there and then it comes up, and it's such a beautiful reminder of like where we were. And I really like, I was sitting down today too, and I'm like looking at your memories, and I love Necker Island, but another memory came up, and it was a memory of, I had gone to an event to California, and
that's right. We went to the Griffin's mansion,
McGriffin State, and I was there by myself. I decided to go, and that's kind of like where my personal growth started with one of our dear friends, and it was kind of like the speed.
Was that 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
The speed that I like to go, the place that I like to go, was just like, it was my thing, right? So I went by myself. I actually decided to go by myself. You might have been doing something. That's the reason why you weren't with me. And you actually flew out, orchestrated all of this so beautifully. And we were meditating. And then all of a sudden, I opened my eyes and you're standing in front of me. And it was like, you're just so crazy. Like you do things.
It's a surprise factor. I mean, if you want to keep the passion in the relationship, you have to surprise your partner.
And that's the thing that I love about you, because you continue to do things that really amaze me. And it's like you haven't stopped. And yes, you've messed up along the way, and maybe you've done things that
we make up for all the fuck ups. We make up somehow, somewhere. And that's what I tell my clients. I said, listen, this is not. We're not looking for perfect marriages. We're not looking for a perfect scenario. What we are looking for is progress. And part of being surprising your partner or going out of the way to do things, that's part of the game. Like sometimes we'll, take a wrong turn, but we'll get back on track and keep moving forward.
So one of the questions, we did a live Q&A last week too, and we didn't get to address all the questions. So all the questions are welcome. And I think I want you to know that when you answer this, when you ask these questions on our live feed, it's not just you learning from what we say, but it's like all of us, we actually get to learn. We actually get to like rethink where we were and what formulas worked and what word worked for us, or whatever it is, right? When we share. So it's not just for you, it's for the rest of us that actually are learning to love each other's, to love each other and to actually appreciate each other.
It's an experience. It's a combination of interaction. Again, one of the things that I love about doing these live shows is what I told my team. I said, from now on, I'm doing every single podcast live because I don't want, I love the interaction. I love, to see the people here. So I see here now, Javier is on. We have, what's going on, Javier? We have a bunch of people here. Put your questions below so we could answer them. Now, Vivian, go into the question that we had last week so we can answer that question, because it goes in alignment to some of the content we're creating this week for your brand, for your coaching program as well.
Yes, and it was a beautiful question, and it goes something along the lines. It says, how do I help my wife see? So how do I help my wife see her true value? She isn't into religion or doesn't ever want to try new things. I have tried to motivate her in the past, but always get the I don't know replies. And I could totally relate to that question. Like that's just me 100% when we first started, because you saw in me potential. You saw in me this queen that I knew existed, but at the same time, it's like I was not ready to actually make her come alive because there was so many questions behind that.
Well, I think, one of the things that we talked about, we were in the car when Vivian shared with me that question. I said, okay, I don't think we could put the value, we cannot give value to somebody. We could value the person. Asking the question, how do you value this car, right? Can you add value to the car, right? And I think that we, as a husband, we bring out the value by valuing you. So the question, if I'm understanding correctly, is how do I add value? How do I increase the value of my wife? Is that the question? Yeah. How do I help her see her value?
And I think it's more of the sense of like, listen, I know my wife is great and amazing, and she's not living to that potential. So it's like you're living less than what you should be. You're just this magnificent person, and all of a sudden, like you don't see that in yourself. How can I see how amazing, how valuable you are?
The first thing you do is show her appreciation. I mean, the first thing we do, like if we value our things, we have to be intentional with our affection, intentional with our time, intentional with our focus, because whatever we value, we cherish. And if we don't value those things, we don't take care of. So if your wife right now is, if she probably feels that she's second, third, and fourth. And I always joke around with my clients, say that we cheat our wives with our business, right? And we put our business first, and then our wife's second, or then our kids second, and then our wife's third, or then something else comes, and then our partner feels like they are less than because they're down in the last at the bottom of the list. So how do you value your wife? How do you value your partner? Just show her love and appreciation, not just once, not just in Valentine's Day, not just when it's her birthday or her anniversary. Little by little, you increase the value, you increase her worth, because you put your attention and your energy to something that is valuable. Well, show her. You show her, and you tell her. Now it's up to her to receive it. Some people are just closed over; they're not open to it, and they become a victim, and now they get attention by feeling that they're less than.
So I just think like it takes a little bit of time for everybody to realize all of that, and all of that, like it's so beautiful and it's so perfect, because I think a lot of the times we as women, like we're not really emotionally all there, right? Like we may act and pretend like we're this valuable, beautiful women, but we don't feel that on the inside. And as beautiful as it sounds, like if you wanted to do that for me, it's absolutely perfect, but nothing really happens. And this is what we were talking about yesterday. It's about having this beautiful 4 pillars that we were talking about. And it starts with the self-love. Like when you don't really have this self-love, when you don't have this connection, and when you don't have the vision, and when you don't have the truth for yourself, then it doesn't matter how much people try to tell you that you're this magnificent jewel. But if you don't feel like you are that treasure, then it's like it cannot shine. You cannot give that worth.
As a father of a teenage daughter, I tell my daughter every single day how beautiful she is, how loved she is. Yes. But if she's not open to receive that, because I hear a lot of times like that, I'm not beautiful, or that you don't love me, and like, what are you talking about? Like I show you love, and I tell you, that I love you every single day. Yeah. Now, it becomes a game, right, of attention. Now I have to be more present. I could just say, well, I already told you that I love you. You don't need to hear it again. Yeah. Now for me is, what do I need to help her understand or make her feel? Because maybe my love language is not her love language. So one thing that he could do in the situation is find out what the love language is for your wife, and that speak that language, so that way you could increase her self-worth.
And that's a beautiful thing that you say, because a lot of the times we're thinking of like love language, right? So like if you haven't heard about it, it's the 5 love languages. It's Gary Chapman, and he's so beautiful how he illustrates each and every one of these gifts. But a lot of the times we are speaking our own love language. So for me, it's quality time. And every time I'm thinking of like, things that I want to do, things that I want to spend time doing something with you. And I'm thinking like, well, I'm showing him love, but that's not your love language. It's actually mine. And I am being so filled, and, it's like my love tank is full, but then we forget about the other person, right? And it's like, oh, that's not the right thing to do.
And at the same time, we have to take time to see. I wonder how many people here in the audience, if you're watching this live, how many of you guys know your partner's love language? How many of you guys know your own love language? I think that's the beginning. Yeah. Learn to see what's your love language, and then learn your partner's love language, because some of the times we don't even know what brings us love and joy. How do we feel love and joy?
Yeah, and that's a good question to ask yourself, like, what makes me feel loved? And we as women don't take enough time to ask that question, because we are taking care of everything and everyone else that comes in contact with us, especially because we are, taking care of our kids or taking care of our husbands or our business or whatever comes in front of us. And then by the time the question comes, it's like, I don't even have the time and the energy to even think about what makes me feel loved. I just want to get to bed and relax and rest and just unwind and not even have that energy to go that extra mile.
So let's break it down for the audience, because I think it's valuable too, especially out of this question, is the love language that the book talks about is connection, which is touch, right? Physical touch. Second one
that's so funny you start there, because that's yours.
And I think that's most men, that's physical touch. I mean, we feel love. If we're not touching each other, we're not hugging, or we're not like, at least for me, maybe it's a Latin thing. Maybe it's a culture thing, but I don't feel like, you could tell me you love me all the time, but if you're not touching me, if you're not hugging me, if you're not showing me that, I don't feel it.
Yes.
I might hear it, but I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. And I think there's a confusion when sometimes you think physical touch and it automatically goes to like the sexual aspect. And maybe that's
just simple hugs, kisses. I mean, sex for me is definitely in there, but it's not like, you're not showing me love by having sex with me. You're showing me love by really, being in, I'm a touchy-feely guy. So I need that personal touch. That's where this COVID thing for me, and wearing masks and having to touch people, it's kind of like, it's hard, because I love to, hug my friends. I love to hug my family. I love to be around, that environment, that energy. We need that.
You're definitely a touchy type of guy.
So that's how I express my love. That's how I feel my love. So if you ever see me in an event or something, just come give me a hug. I'm not gonna turn you down. But that's one. It's
physical touch.
The second one is
quality time.
And I have a hard time with quality time, because that's not my love language.
That's mine.
But that's your love language.
Yeah.
So I needed to learn that in order for me to see, because quality time and spending, like, for me, if we're around each other, I could be not having quality time, but for me it's time, right?
Right.
But what I've learned with my kids, we had our kids early on. I said, I'm going to give them 1 hour of like quality time. And every single night I will play 1 hour with my son, 1 hour with my daughter, and they will be drained, knocked out before they went to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's what they remember, the hour of power with daddy.
Yes.
The quality time.
Yes, when they were babies. I remember that.
Sometimes we think that we are giving them quality time, but we're in our phones, we're checking emails, we're maybe even watching a movie with them, but we're not there.
I think it's your undivided attention, and you actually like you said, like you set the intention to like, okay, we're going to spend this 1 hour together, but I'm actually going to be fully present, and we have this connection. It may not be like the most amazing connection like your wife would like, but it is a connection. At least you're there, because there's times that we've been out, and I know that you've tried to give me quality time, and we've gone to dinner, but I know that you're not present because your mind is just racing.
Even though I'm there, the mind is somewhere else.
And you're not
attention
there.
is there. So we're just going through the motions.
Yes. And I feel like saying like, you know what, let's just go home. Like there's no good reason for us to be here, because you're not physically, you're physically there, but you're not emotionally there.
At that time too, is like forcing ourselves to commit to do something, because it's a commitment, because I don't want to break my streak of going to day nights.
Yeah.
But also honoring ourselves, like, listen, babe, today it's not the day. Like today I have so many things going on that I can't be there. Like I'm thinking right now of a couple of clients with a mastermind this morning, and there's a couple of guys who are going through a lot of shit. One guy is closing a $2 million deal, and they just changed his term sheet, this morning. And then today is date night with his wife. Like, so how do you bring that energy? So it's hard, it's, and another guy is going through another transition that he has to, send a lawsuit out in order to get, $1 million back in his account because somebody's not delivering a product. So,
but then at the same time, I feel like especially with you, like, okay, you're racing, you're going 100 miles an hour. You kind of need that. Like, I feel like when I'm fully present to what's happening, I don't set myself like, okay, I want this date night to look like this, but I'm actually there to actually take care of you.
I see one thing that I tell them, this is exactly what we signed up for. There's always going to be shit going on in our business.
Yeah.
And if we don't learn how to separate that, and one of my mantras that I tell my clients are, we're not our business. Our business is part of what we do.
Yeah.
But I can attach my self-worth or my confidence, my certainty, as long as things are going right in my business. Yes, it's hard because it's gonna be a trigger. But at the same time, I need to feed you. I need to make sure that we are connected. I need to make sure that I invest in me as well.
Yeah.
So we can continue to keep the foundation. Because otherwise, we just disconnect. We'll disconnect.
Yeah, I know. And the times that I feel like we've actually pushed through and we've stayed in our date night, so if we actually had a conversation as to like what's happening, then it's like, okay, the problem might still be there in the morning. Why don't we just give it our all right now and see like what's going to happen, right? And it feels so much better that way, especially for me, just to feel like, okay, we actually had the conversation.
At least we were
honest about what was happening.
It, and we had the conversation and we was open as opposed to trying to pretend that everything is fine.
That's right.
That's quality time. What's the third one?
Acts of service.
Acts of service,
which I'm actually learning to love because, when I got sick during my time that I was kind of just out cold, I would get up and I would see you like do these things that I've never seen you really do for a long time, which were like, cleaning up the kitchen or taking care of the kids and feeding them and just doing all these things. And I would just sit back and actually see like all of this happen. And I'm like, oh my God, it filled my heart like with so much joy. And it's like, you didn't have to. And it came out of a place of love. And I think that's the part that's like, it just ignited something else all over again. So it's like, and brownie points.
Funny you say that because I'm learning to appreciate your cooking. Because now that you're cooking, you're putting more emphasis on cooking. So that's an act of service. Like for me, like, if I know what I like, so I'll do it myself or I'll order some food. Like I'm not ever, telling you what you need to cook in order for me to be like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Like for me, it's beyond that. But in the COVID, what has happened, I told you this joking around, it's like, man, it's giving you an amazing set of skills of cooking skills.
Oh God.
So that, my way of washing the dishes, an act of service, like when I see you cooking and preparing these meals that is out of your comfort zone, that for me, that's an act of service.
So then the only thing that's really changed for me with that act of service is actually the intention. And it was actually because I was teaching one of my queens, and I told them, I said, we actually have the power to create anything and everything we walk into the room. And anything and everything, even in the kitchen when we prepare our meals. And for me, that's what really changed is like the intention of like, okay, this meal is going to be so satisfying and it's going to be so nourishing and so healthy for my body and my family that I'm just going to prepare it. So it's not with the sense of like, I have to make something to eat, but it's more like I get to make something to eat. So I'm glad that you're feeling the love that I'm
feeling the love, baby. Feeling the love. So COVID, that's one positive thing that's happening with COVID. We get some gourmet meals. No. Vivian.
Don't get used to it because that's only very like temporary. Okay, I would say.
Let's see. We'll update the podcast.
Monday through Wednesday, I'll do my cooking. The rest of the days, it's a no. I don't personally like the kitchen.
What's the fourth one?
So we did physical touch, quality time, acts of service.
Words of
affirmation.
And I think and looking back, that's the love language for my teenage daughter. Words of affirmation. So now every morning I tell her I love you, and I said it first.
Yeah.
So we have this game. So now she's telling me she loves me. And she's like, I said it first, Daddy, and then I have to get up earlier and tell her that I said it first, and that's just words of affirmation. That's also my son, that's Alejandro.
I would say that too.
I think Alejandro's too.
Yeah.
Love languages.
He loves to hear it. He loves to say it.
So learning how to. And one of my clients actually told me this morning because he's practicing this with his wife.
Beautiful.
Loves words of affirmations. So then she turned around with him and said, hey, are you cheating on me? He goes, why? Because you've never told me that you love me so many times. And now I'm hearing every single day. I'm worried. Like, what have you done? And he was like, just come clean. It's like, no, I'm learning how to show love. So I'm learning your love language.
Is that her love language?
Well, that's what he's trying to see which, what love language is.
So you should really ask, because I think, well, here's the thing. Like sometimes for women, like it's really hard for us to actually receive that part. It's like, when most of the time, like you tell a woman like, oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful. What are you doing? And then we automatically come back with like, no, like I haven't even lost a pound. And, or no, this is the same old dress. Right? Compliment. So it's like we as women, we have to actually learn how to receive that part, because it would just edify everything that we are on the inside. It's just, I feel like that's really a challenge for us. And I love to hear my kids always tell me like, Mom, you're so amazing, or Mom, I love you. It's just, it fills your love tank. So if you could do that with your spouse, absolutely beautiful. But it even helps that much more when you actually tell yourself how amazing, how beautiful, how unique you are. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that.
And if you can't speak your own love language, if you're not feeding yourself love, then how can you give? So again, it goes back to the question, right? How can I bring my wife value?
Yeah. Well, he wants to bring value to her.
How valuable do you feel? You see, now he needs to feel like, is his self-worth attached to the value of his wife?
Right.
So he needs his wife to have a better self-worth so he could feel like he's doing something. Because if that's the case, then both of them are going empty and you're not going to get anywhere. But if he has a full tank, then of course he could pour over the love, and then she's gonna start feeling the value.
Yeah.
And feeling and flourishing as well. Yeah. What we sometimes do is we're trying to fix the other person. Like, if you feel valuable, then you wouldn't nag at me. like if you feel like you're loved and you're beautiful, then you wouldn't come to me and nag at me. The reality is that how secure are you on who you are, that you are allowing another situation outside your control, because you can't control your wife. As long as even though that's your partner, you can't control what she does. I had a call with a client this morning, and he's going through a tough time. For the past 5 years, his wife has been diagnosed with a disease that she's taking medicine, and she's very negative. And of course, it's not her fault.
It's all this everything that's happening on the inside.
That's going on. Mm-hmm. So he said, Raul, I love her, but I just can't deal with the fact that I'm just like, I just hide myself in my business, right?
Right.
One of the things that I told him, I said, well, you need to fucking get stronger. God is giving you this opportunity right now for you to get stronger, because that's your wife. That's the love of your life. If you can't hold the space for her now, you come home and she has all this negative energy. Well, you can't be the garbage can, because right now you're having her throw up all over you, and now you're taking that energy. You're taking her pain. Mm-hmm. Who do you need to become for you to become the vessel that you actually have a strong sense of self, that whatever she's going through, you actually bring her peace and that stress.
Right.
And then little by little start helping her heal.
Right.
And then that changed something in him, realizing that, yes, it's not about her. It's about what can I do to get stronger so I can help her and not put it on her and say, well, she's giving me a bad attitude, or she's acting up. Well, it happens to me all the time when I come home with my little girl. She's a teenager. She's, constantly, bumping heads. But I had to get emotionally strong enough for me to deal with that without blaming her, without making her wrong.
Right. And then I think it's so beautiful when you are strong enough and your energy is so centered that you could actually have some to give to her from a place of love. And it's like grace. And it's like, let me bring you here instead of her taking him to where she is, because at this moment she cannot be stronger than where he could be, right?
She's going through a tough situation.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
This week, and I'll share with you guys what happened this week. And this week I was really close to lose my shit with my kids. But this lady just coming right now saying, talk about anxiety with kids, and some feedback about how to manage anxiety with kids. So they've been arguing back and forth, right? Our kids have been arguing back and forth, and they're teenagers, and that's what they do. I mean, what do you expect, right? So, but more than usual, I've seen our kids kind of like taking jabs at each other, like being a little sarcastic, or just doing
not
things
behaving the way that they usually do,
not in a manner of disrespectful, because our kids are good. We're blessed. Like I always look at my kids like, man, we're
so good.
They're so good. We're blessed because they listen to some of this stuff, but at the same time, they're teenagers, right? And it's
there's so many variables out there that actually it's reflecting.
I don't know how I grew up with my brother, and how you grew up with your sister. I mean, like, man, we're like they are light years ahead of where we were with our siblings, right?
Yes.
But you know, my son was fighting with my daughter, and I had him sit down on the table, and I asked him, both of them, to just listen and to listen to each other. Then my little girl said, okay, I asked her to go first. And then she started just like, you do this, and you say this. And then I saw the physiology of my son like shrinking and like, you know, and it was in pain, because what happens is like, because he's a teenager too. He's only 14 years old. He doesn't have the emotional stamina to take all the energy. So he takes that personal. So eventually he wanted to defend himself. Well, I said, no, just listen. And then he looked at me and said, well, is this going to beat on Alejandro today? I said, no, it's not about beating on you. It's about you listening to what she's saying. So then she went on a rant for about 5 minutes. And I was really proud of him that he was able to like take it for 5 minutes, because it's a lot, you know?
Yes, it is a lot.
When she was done, you could see how she was like, relief. Like she said all these things that she wanted to say, right?
Right.
And then I asked my son to take a deep breath, and I said, like, just, you see how whatever you're doing is making her feel. He goes, yes, but I said, like, I understand that you don't mean it. I know we don't mean to hurt people that we love, but we also have to realize that that's what they're seeing. That's what they're experiencing. Yeah, so every time that we argue or we try to justify, especially with the feminine energy, we just cause more anxiety, more pain. Yes. The only way to end that battle is to take ownership and say, like, I'm sorry. How can I do better? Like, you know, and let me understand what you need from me. So that shifted.
That's the hardest part.
So that's the hardest part. So then he shifted. So take a deep breath and said, okay, you're right. Because I said, anything that you say right now, it's like,
it's not going to help.
It's not going to help. Like anything you say, you could say like, I didn't mean it. Okay. Or anything.
Right.
That's the way that she feels. So that's the masculine energy. So I told him, I said, you need to be strong enough to actually hold the space for her, to let her do what she does, but also know that
it has not to do with
that. Your intentions were different, and as long as you know who you are, then you could go from there, right?
Yes.
So then he was like, okay, I understand. He kind of understood. So I said, okay, now let's just close this. And I said, you know, I want you guys to close your eyes. And I had them close their eyes, and I said, now imagine this morning you got up. Imagine you went to school, because you take my daughter to school, I take my son to school. And I said, you got a text, emergency, and there was a car accident, and your brother or sister, one of them didn't make it. Like for my daughter, your brother didn't make it. For my son, your sister didn't make it. Yeah. And then I had them close their eyes. Imagine, what does it feel? I said, imagine, what was the last thing you said to him? What was the last thing you said to her? And then, you know, you come back from school, you go to their rooms, and they're teenagers. So they're bawling and they're crying. My son is crying and he's trying to hold it in, like trying to be strong, but he's, you know, crying. My daughter is crying and she's feeling it. And she's also trying to hold it, trying to be strong. But then after, you know, I kept them pushing and pushing, and they were both like in a state of like really feeling the pain of losing something, right? Yeah. So then I had them open their eyes, and I put a piece of paper in front of them. I said, just write the letter that you will tell your sister or your brother if they were not here. What did you want to tell them if they were not here? If you lost your brother, you lost your sister, and they both of them did an amazing job writing a 2-page letter to each other. And then I said, fold it, give it to each other. And then whenever you have fights, whenever you feel like somebody's doing something to you, you read that letter.
Like he doesn't love you or he doesn't see you for who you are.
Then you remember.
Time to read it.
And then that's, you know, and then they cried out, they hugged each other, and then what was going on, it disappeared. Like we didn't talk about the problem. That's the point here is that how do you kill anxiety? How do you heal anxiety? And like, let's stop feeding that energy. Let's stop feeding the problem. Let's start focusing on the solution, which is connection. Yeah. The solution is getting back to like, what if we no longer have each other?
Connection, and I would say gratitude, because the minute that you actually are grateful for what you have in front of you, and sometimes it's like you said, actually not having it in front of you, then it's so powerful, because it's like, even to imagine that, it brings feelings that you just like, okay, all of this is just BS. Like, what am I really fighting about? And whether it is with your spouse or with your kids or your kids with kids, you know, like we really don't have the time to do that. So that's a beautiful experience that you gifted them with.
And that's part of having like emotional fitness to deal with the problems, because usually in the past, like we just let kids argue and
or we start arguing with them.
Like that was my first. That was the first reaction. Okay, they're getting punished. Somebody's on their phones. Somebody's going to their rooms. But
turn off the Wi-Fi.
And then I saw my wife looked at me like, Raul, maybe right now is not the time. And I said, okay, let me shift from like the warrior that wants to cut people's heads off to the king, and said, okay, well, what's the wise move here?
How could they learn something more than just being punished? And I think a lot of the times we just do that. And that was a beautiful lesson for me too, because by the end of the night, when that starts to happen, I want to lose it. I want to just scream, you know? And sometimes I have to go outside and just scream, because there's no sense of holding that energy in, because that's what brings anxiety, right? And it's like, I feel that.
Everything is energy. Every emotion is energy, the anger, love, everything. So what we do is we hold that in. We hold that in our bodies, and it creates tension. Yeah. It creates disease. It creates like the pain that we have, chronic pain. So that's what I have my morning ritual, and you see me in the morning every day, just screaming like a crazy maniac and doing things that I need to do, because I need to move the energy and release the energy.
And then for us women, I think the way that I was talking to one of my clients that said the way to release and to move the energy is through movement and through dancing. I think a lot of the times us women, like we stopped moving, we stopped dancing. We go and we dance at parties or, wherever. But like even now we don't have that anymore. You really have to create a ritual for yourself where you could actually move all those emotions. And the best way is through dancing. Find a safe place, look like a crazy woman, give yourself permission to feel and do whatever it is that you need to do. And then just, okay, it's gone. You come out and it's like, oh, you're a brand new woman.
I'm for men, physical exercise. I tell you right now, every time I'm stressed out, I hit like 15, 20 minutes of workout and then just release the energy and realize, okay, I'm not going to kill people today. I'm just going to adapt, adjust, and execute, And we had a mastermind a couple of weeks ago of guys, and we had 2 days of a mastermind. And the first day the first morning is we're going to sweat, we're going to connect. And I hadn't worked out for an hour and a half. And then with an hour and a half, these guys were like almost dead, but they were connected. And that created the opportunity for us to come back to center. As men, we need to have that bond. We need to be able to move our body. We need to be able to get stronger, because listen, it's not about being fit or looking good. It's about how can you create energy in your body to be able to produce at a higher level.
I love that. Okay, so I hope that we went through all the languages.
So just to recap, 4 love languages. We got...
Oh, it's 5 love languages.
No, there's only 4 love languages. Or is it 5? Well,
I think it's 5. I think it's 5.
The physical touch, which that's mine.
Quality time,
which that's yours.
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmations, that's our kids. Acts of service. We don't have anybody in the family, acts of service. That's a love language.
No, it's not, but it's really fulfilling, because like when we go to like the shelters or where we do something like Thanksgiving.
But that's not our main. I'm saying that's not our main love language. Yeah. So what's the 5th one?
There is something else, love. It's 5. I hope somebody else can help us in here.
No, so if you know the 5th love language, chime in.
How is
if
it?
Not, we'll Google it. But we know at least the first 4. I like
Sorry, Gary Chapman. Trust me, we're
working. We
gotta
go back to class again.
We're working. We're actually going to his seminar next year. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the reason why we're going back, because we still need another love language.
Yeah, last time we went to a seminar, it was the best seminar we had. Why? Because we spent half the time drinking margaritas in the pool.
Yes.
And it was awesome. It was an awesome
This time's going to be different. Yeah, this time we're actually going to pay attention and stay at the conference the whole time.
I'm so proud of myself. 1 year. It's going to be 1 year that I haven't drank. But December 31st, it's going to be 1 year that I haven't drank the whole year.
Awesome.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy.
So
I'm feeling
proud
strong.
of you.
All right. So that's it. Let's wrap it up.
Yes.
4 love languages.
I know there's 5.
We raised the 5th one.
Stop.
4 love languages. Learn to distress the situation by not focusing on the problem, focus on the solution.
And focus on gratitude. I think when you forget what is, what you're even fighting for, just allow yourself to come back to your heart. Allow yourself to come back to breath, and like just ask yourself, like, is this moment really what's really important in this moment, especially with everything that's happening? Like a lot of the times we're fighting for such like bullshit, and it's like, okay, let's just take the time to actually figure out what is important right here, right now.
And if you feel triggered right now, go exercise. Go do some push-ups, do some burpees, do something, move your body, because you're moving the energy. You're moving the energy and being allowing yourself to get connected and get grounded.
Yes.
All right. So continue to watch the previous episodes in YouTube. So we have tons of episodes on YouTube in your channel.
Yep. We have some coming up.
Connect with us in Spotify. Yep. We are in iTunes. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us everywhere except for our bedroom. That's where we keep it private. Thank you for joining us today. Learn it, live it, experience it.
Love life.
If you receive any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take it to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.